All right, now being 5:45, I'll call the May 27th meeting of the OCPC Finance-Audit Committee to order. And first order of business is the accessibility statement. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon request. If you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron. The Notice of Non-Discrimination Rights and Protections to Beneficiaries regarding the Title VI Non-Discrimination Protections and the State Non-Discrimination Protections is available on the Old Colony Planning Council website. And thank you very much. So Mary, can you do the roll call?
Yes, I can. Christine Joy.
Present.
Stephen Santusonio.
Present.
Val Massard.
Present.
John Costa. Oh, he's muted, but we see him.
Muted.
And
Yeah, we see him.
and did I lose Sandra?
No, I'm here.
There you go. Sorry,
Present.
you're not. Oh, you're at the top of my list. Sorry, you're up on top. Sandra, right?
Great.
Thank you.
Very
Present.
good.
Yeah.
All right. We've got last month's meeting minutes. Those were sent out with the packet. Would someone like to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes?
I'll make
I'll
that
make a
motion.
mo-
Oh,
I'll
sorry,
second it.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Second, Sandy. Roll call vote, please, Mary.
Christine Joy.
Accept.
Val Massard.
Accept.
John Costa.
Abstain.
Stephen Santusonio.
Accept.
And Sandra Wright.
Accept.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Brenda, would you like to do the financials?
Oh, Brenda, you need to unmute.
Sorry, I didn't know I was muted. I came in muted, I guess. Okay, at the end of April, we had a positive financial standing with a 3.82% budget surplus. Available surplus funds remaining are $187,164. Statement of expenditures report shows total expenses for the month of $206,929. Cash position report shows income for the month of $331,206. By the way, guys, I've dropped the cents off of everything. Just everything's rounded now. So, okay, disbursements for the month were $443,622. Total cash available at month's end was $1,825,043. OPEB account had a gain of $11,208. Bringing the ending balance in the OPEB fund to $1,260,045. Budget resources report, cash receipts being $331,206, brings the total year-to-date receipts to $5,754,913. Outstanding balance for AAA report. The AAA report, outstanding balance for AAA pass-through programs was $642,455. Outstanding balance for AAA admin and ombudsman program was $141,370. This brings the total outstanding balance for all AAA programs to $783,825. Volunteer transportation account. Beginning balance was $162,575. Donations received were a total of $520, bringing the ending balance in the fund to $163,094. ROM statement and activity. Balance at the beginning of the month was $150,793. Receipts were $5,850, bringing the total receipts to $74,500. Expenses were $5,903, bringing the total expenses to $80,946. The ending statement balance was $149,872. Budget reports. Spent to date percentage rate at the end of the month was 79.48%. Ideal percentage in the 10th month of the fiscal year would be 83.3. So at month's end, we had a 3.82% surplus. The available surplus funds remaining were a total of $187,164. Page 1, expenditures at the end of the month were a total of $2,510,193. Budgeted funds remaining at the end of the month were a total of $647,931. Page 2, projected grant income is $3,158,124. Page 3, projected pass-through income for this fiscal year remains at $1,996,327. And lastly is the list of combined accounts payable and cash transfers for the month. Does anyone have any questions about any of the financials?
Becky's got her hand up.
Okay,
Hi, my question is on the AAA outstanding.
Yeah.
Given sort of a little bit of what we're hearing about AAA funds and some risk there, is there any way to get them to sort of reduce the amount we tend to have outstanding? Are they running about the same amount behind as they usually do?
Sean,
is Sean?
You want
is
me to
Sean-
take this one, Brenda?
Yes, I sure
Yes.
do. I was looking for you.
How did I know? Okay, so they're even further behind than they normally are.
Okay,
Effectively, what has happened with AAA funding, we just received about a month ago an initial contract for approximately 22% of the annual budget plan. In other words, what they normally would have suggested to us. That's somewhere around $680,000, and that is all the money that they have received so far. So what that does is effectively kind of gets us October and November's bills paid. In some cases, it doesn't even do that. We're in the process. We now have to go through and restructure a lot of our billing to reflect that initial contract and be able to get those invoices approved. David did receive information that the remaining contract or the supplementary contract for the rest of the money does appear like it's in the works and should be signed within the next 4 to 5 weeks. They have not paid anything of fiscal 25 at this point. The only funds that have come through have been assisted living funds, which are state funds. Like I said, at this point, that's all we know. Like I said, we do have a signed contract for about $680,000. And we'll work on getting that billing in so that we can get those things approved and get them paid as quickly as possible. I was on a call with Sheila Tunney, who is the CFO for EOAI. This morning, she did mention that the controller's office has notified them that they do plan to release fiscal year 25 funds, hopefully this week or by the beginning of next week. So that's kind of all we know at this point, but we are pessimistically hopeful. Let's put it that way.
so Sean, what I'm trying to get a handle on is whether or not are we at risk if we don't get the 642 that's right now outstanding.
That's correct.
We've already committed to paying that to other people, right?
No, not
Okay.
necessarily. These are pass-through funds. So the more important number, if you were to take a look at the total of ombudsman administration funds, those are the funds that directly affect us. Those are the amount of funds that we would need to make ourselves whole for the salaries of OCPC staff. There is a small amount of that 642,000 that we have paid out already, but the bulk of those funds go to Old Colony Elder Services. And it is within each contract with our sub-grantees that our payment of their billings is contingent upon us receiving the funding.
Okay.
So a lot of the OCES stuff is still on hold. And again, they're the majority of it. There is a small amount of 3B supportive services money, which we have, again, trying to take care of our smaller sub-grantees, which we have fronted.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is even in that 22% contract, there's approximately $270,000 of carryover money, which is already in place. We're not waiting on the federal government to get us that. So that's included in the initial contract. So at this point, I think we're going to be okay. The question, like I said, the one that really concerns us is that 141,000, and we need to figure out the best way to get that money into our coffers.
Okay, but I mean, we, that wouldn't bankrupt us. So, I mean, I feel like we're still being responsible on that front. And it sounds like Old Colony Elder Services and their board are the ones who really need to look at what they're spending and what's at risk that they may or may not get in.
It's really not a matter of how much they spend, Sandy. It's kind of a situation where, I mean, honestly, we're probably 20% of their entire budget.
Okay, so they have other money.
Right.
And-
They have other
okay.
money coming in, and certainly this would hurt them. And it's not fair to them, but I don't think they're spending recklessly. And this is kind of a system-wide thing that they're dealing with. I mean, this is just AAA funds. If you want to talk about home care funds, that's a much bigger
Right.
piece that they're struggling to get.
But
So-
Becky, you raise
But
a
that-
really good point just on this, is this department, these funds from the state, they really are the only, at this point, has been since I've come on board, has always been arrears and paying us back.
Oh, horrible.
And Brenda can talk, and Charlie, but Brenda can talk a little bit more to that. So ideally, like Sean mentioned and David, they're both in communication. What we may, I know Sean, no, excuse me, David tomorrow will be presenting about AAA in the area plan, but that may also be an opportunity to take it up with the full council. And, we watch this very closely, and as soon as funds go into our account, there's like a celebration because we finally get some funds from the state.
Right.
But to your point, Becky, it's something to caution because, certainly federal government has had some, its eye on some things. But as Sean just pointed out, we're constantly in contact with the state. As of last week, there was some things that staff were working out where by the time we processed something, it was a little bit behind on their end, but that's being worked out. So there's a lot of sweat equity that goes into handling the AAA and as a pass-through. And I would be remiss to say that, we're pass-through. We don't receive all that many funds for this. And I know at one point there were some discussions about whether we continue in this capacity to know the amount of time, right? We're always doing, when we talk about the septic system, or we're talking about, the utility program that we run, the amount of time and the amount of funds, and where is the breaking point, and or if it's above that line or below. If we're making funds, revenue on this, then it's worth it, particularly if in this case, it's meeting the needs of the elder care, right? The elder population. So, so we'll continue to have some conversations about this. I think it's important as we move forward, but, thank you, Sean, for, talking about specifically the program.
And
Thank you,
thanks
Sean.
to both of you for answering. I always watch this line because it is one that we're always in arrears on. And I know it's also an area that might lose some fund, that there have been some orders about funding. So I just want to make sure that we're watching it.
Yeah. This is appropriate time, I would say, the finance, right, to talk about these things. And if we need to, we can spend maybe, as we get through the budget, and maybe in the next couple months, we can even just have David come in and talk specifically in terms of the communications that he's had as well. So.
Mhm.
Mary, is this just pretty much exclusively a AAA problem, or are you seeing this with other grants too, that there's
No,
delays?
this has been a AAA, like Mass DOT. You put it in, the money's in the bank the next month. No
Right,
issues.
okay.
Same thing, with, I'm trying to think some of the comprehensive, some of the state funding. We see the funds, we put it through their portal, and the reimbursements come pretty quick. This is pretty unique to AAA. Like I said, it was happening before I came on board. And I do see a lot of the correspondence between, and again, there's been some change in the administration, but also change in personnel.
Yeah, this is, if I might, Mary, this is, like I said, if you think about MassDOT, when we begin a MassDOT contract at the beginning of October, we have that contract signed.
Yep.
Even traditionally, since I've been here, which will be 4 years in October, the AAA contracts don't usually get executed until late February at the earliest and April at the latest, which
Right.
is 6 months into the fiscal year.
Right.
So
So I think to answer the question, right, this is unique to AAA, and we
Yeah.
will continue to monitor going forward.
Great, thank you. Any more questions for Brenda on the April financials? All right, how about a motion to accept the April 2025 financials?
Motion so moved.
Thank you, Sandy. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Stephen beat you, Becky. All right, so we've got a motion, and a second to accept the April 2025 financials. Mary, can you do a roll call vote?
Christine Joy,
Accept.
Sandra Wright,
Accept.
Val Massard, John Costa,
Accept.
Stephen Santasonio,
Accept.
Sandra, oh, I did Sandra Wright, and Becky Coletta.
Yes, accept.
I think I got everybody.
Great, thank you, Mary. All right, so Brenda, you're up again. The update on state and federal actions.
Okay, I have the report for the
I was gonna say
fiscal
Megan,
reserve.
yeah,
Sorry.
Megan will get to, there we go, perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Yeah, I have it printed as well. So, okay, sorry. Summarized finances at a glance report as of May 25th, 2025. Total cash balances for all accounts listed add up to a total of $1,801,797. The total account balance is decreased by $462,465, leaving total unallotted cash available on May 25th of $1,339,332, which is the amount of funds received in advance that have been allotted for specific grants and programs only, such as the OPEB account, volunteer transportation account, advance payments for specific grants, etc. I think that was worded badly. The decrease, the amount of the decreased funds are the amount of the funds that have been received in advance and have been allotted for specific programs and grants. Sorry about that. Accounts receivable balance on May 25th are a total of $855,357. ROM account balance on May 25th was $145,739. After the April payment, the building loan has a principal balance of $257,621. So that's just a quick finances at a glance.
No
report.
vote, yeah, no vote is required on this.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
I do, Brenda. I was just sitting here thinking, and I don't know if there is an actual number that we have for our budget. I mean, is our revenue like $10 million, or what are we functioning on? What is the total amount or the dollar amount?
Well,
And
you
because you
Right.
have so many things that come in at different times and things that go out.
yeah,
But what do we normally function? What is the dollar amount that we actually function with?
Which would be the numbers at the bottom of the FY20 of the current budget. The amount of expenses are current, and what we budgeted, what we've spent reduces
Yeah.
from what we budgeted, and then what's left over. And the income are actual grant and program funds that we are expecting. So those would really be the numbers.
and I think
Okay.
Megan has this teed up if, even, this is the FY26 budget, but even on the bottom of this, right? So if you look at, the
It would be the middle column, the middle column,
Correct.
of the FY.
That's correct.
And, and that these numbers, Sandra, are based on the QuickBooks actual P&L. So these are actual numbers.
Okay.
Yes. So, so this is the profit and loss statement right here. This is that you're looking at it.
And
Okay, great.
and Sandy, if we look at that, we look at our total revenue that we spend at Old Colony Planning Council of the 3.1 million
Yeah.
or 3.2 million. The other number I find really important is at the top of the federal page, where
go
we
ahead.
look at our monthly actual outlay to support our employees
Correct.
and our building expenses is the 211,000. So
Okay.
I keep looking at the 1.3 million that we have in funds kind of available in different accounts. That 1.339, I'm like, okay, if funds dried up tomorrow, and like we're being responsible because we know that we have like 6 months of funds available to fund actual employees. So that makes me feel like I'm doing a responsible job, because we're not sort of out in advance of the money coming in a way that we couldn't sustain.
Yeah, I guess
And-
that's, what I wanted to know was, what is the actual dollar amount that we budget for or are on? And I know that there are other things that come in and go out. So,
Right. So the puzzle that we have, that Brenda
Yeah.
and John and others have, is that there are 3 different years, right? We have a calendar year that funds come in. We have
Right.
a state fiscal year, which ends June 30th. And then we have of the federal fiscal year. And so what the idea really is that while we are functioning for this board on a fiscal year that ends June 30th, it's coming in and coming out. And if you remember the last meetings that we had, Paul Lumano talk about the grants and how those filter in, and even on the financials that Brenda talks about at the end, it talks about the revenues. And so it is a matter of, each month. So this is a snapshot. This one pager is in here.
Yeah.
We're giving that 1 month snapshot up to date. Like this is as of, Brenda, this was
As of yesterday or the day before.
yesterday. There we go, May
Or the
25th.
actual
24th or
numbers.
something.
And can
Yeah.
you scan up to the budget page, the expense budget page, Megan, so that we can see, like in the middle budget, at the middle column is the FY25 budget expenses. The column in the middle column, the left-hand side of the middle column shows what has actually been spent. Those are
Right.
actual numbers. Those are that's money that has gone out the door.
Yeah.
And then of course in the what the money that's left over would be in the next column. Actually, this is not a this is
we may want to.
this is a wrong. We need to look at the actual budget. We're looking at the projected
Megan.
budget. I'm
Right,
sorry,
right.
Megan. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank
I
you.
realize as I'm talking, I'm going, wait a minute. Okay,
There we
here
go.
This
Right
is
there.
better. Okay, so the column on the left shows what's actually been spent, and the column on the right shows what's left based on what our budget numbers are. And the budget numbers, the actual budgeted amounts, are those totals that are in italics, that are in a lighter color, that's right down the center, that's right to the left-hand side of the spent column. So that's
Right.
so okay. So and then if you move to the income page, Megan, please, which is the next one. These are our actual contracted and agreed upon grant amounts. The amounts that are in here there may be a grant that is 3 years long. I've divided that money into those 3 years and projected what we actually expect to get in FY25. Now, by the end of the year, those numbers will change a little bit, because maybe we bill more, maybe we bill less, maybe they give us more money, so it changes a little bit. But, if that answers your question a little bit better, this is based on actual profit and loss numbers in our QuickBooks.
Yeah, it does. It's just sometimes it's just a little confusing looking at everything that comes in at different times and
I know.
goes out and so I was just, with what's going on and everything, I was just trying to think of, what is the actual number that we function with throughout the year, but no, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's a good question, and I think it gives everybody a little bit of education about these numbers too, which we don't always go into those details, so. Good
Right.
question.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Brenda? Okay, all right, moving on. Number 5, Personnel Committee report. Gonna turn things over to Stephen.
Okay, Mary, I didn't get any notes, so,
Oh,
okay, here we go. Thank you. I didn't get that in my packet. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Personnel Committee met on Tuesday, May 13th at noon, including myself, Lee Hartman, and Sandra Wright, and OPC staff and attendants, which included Mary Waldron, Charlie Kilmer, Megan Fournier, and Brendan Robinson. During the meeting, the committee discussed amendments to the personnel handbook based on suggestions by staff. Staff has an ongoing parking lot for ideas. Sorry for my voice. It's still post-surgery. It's not quite there yet. After reviewing these amendments, the committee favorably recommended to the Finance and Council to accept these amendments to the handbook for adoption. Items reviewed were included in the meeting packet sent earlier prior to the meeting. The only change being recommended at this time is to, sorry, some of it's blocked out there, Mary.
Oh, no. The point I was trying to make was that the finance and the council have already approved
Okay.
the FY26 budget,
Okay.
with the merit recommendation. But there was I was a little bit off with the process. Usually the personnel goes to the finance and finance to the council.
Yeah.
But we brought it before the personnel committee, to just so it can be procedural, so they're able to review.
Okay. So,
Steven,
okay,
can
so
you not, so you can read this though? It's not blocked?
I can only read some of it. The
Oh.
beginning part is blocked, so I don't, there's like, that paragraph you're pointing to, and then the one, not that one, the next one, but the next one
Okay,
after that's
if
partially blocked.
it's okay with Mary, I can read it.
Please.
Okay, so the only change being recommended this time is to add in terminology to include a rate of pay discussion upon the return of a retired staff member who chooses to work part-time with the organization. Additionally, the committee adjourned into an executive session to review and discuss merit recommendations by the executive director for the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget. The committee favorably recommends to the council to accept these merit increases, inclusive of Brenda Robinson's salary for the coming fiscal year.
I can read from now on. Thanks, Megan. I got it from here. We are now looking for a motion from the Finance Committee and the Council to approve the suggested personnel handbook amendment and merit increases for staff for fiscal year 2026. And please note the Finance and the Council have already approved the FY26 budget with these merit recommendations, but the process of the Personnel Committee reviewing in advance was not adhered to. This vote is procedural. And that's all I see. Is there anything else on that?
That was it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Stephen.
So
So at
I
this
would,
point,
so
sorry, go
I
ahead,
would
Becky.
move, so I would move that we accept the recommendations of the personnel committee as presented.
Do
I'll
we have a
second
second?
that. Yep.
Can I
Okay.
ask a question?
I'd like to ask a question too.
I'm not sure, why are we adding in terminology to include a rate of pay discussion in the personnel handbook?
So what happens is, so this is just on the handbook piece, not on the merit. So this is on
Right.
There seems to have been a few more retirements that have occurred. And it's silent in the handbook that the rate of pay would be automatically the same rate of pay that an employee had been at. And that at least needs to have a discussion with management about what the rate of pay. Duties might change. It may not be continuing on. It's come up as internally for me, and there've been some precedent with one employee and continuing on with somebody. And it just encourages management to have a discussion. I know it sounds simple, like it should happen, but it's silent and it may not happen as a rule of thumb.
Okay. All right. I still don't know why it needs to be in that handbook, but I don't know.
So it did come up at the personnel and we did discuss it in length, and it can and probably could easily be done through management. But it was silent, and we've had, again, a series of retirements that, I would just say it doesn't automatically be at that rate of pay. So it's just encourages, and then it's negotiated, right? It's something that needs to be talked about.
So can I say something on this specific point? I think that the handbook is saying that a retired staff member can work part-time with the organization after retirement. So I
Okay.
think because that policy is in the handbook, it was necessary to say you can come back to work part-time as a policy matter, but the rate of pay would be a point of discussion. So it's more expressing the policy that when you retire, there is the opportunity to come back and work, but you would have to discuss the rate of pay.
And thank you, Megan, for bringing this up. New terms of
I don't know.
employment.
Maybe I just think there might be a better way to say it. Like maybe salary is negotiable or something like that rather than,
Or
I don't
maybe
know,
where your
just-
rate, maybe with the rate where you left is not necessarily going to be the rate that you're
right,
going to
So-
exactly.
return to when you come back.
Because
So
there's
Steve,
no
so
guarantee, yeah.
Right.
I didn't put in the specific verbiage, which is on me. But one of the things we recommended saying is more of a new terms of employment will be established, which
Right.
kind of acknowledges the entire employment rather than just saying straight up rate of pay. So rate of pay, it was
Okay,
more
yeah.
of just a summary. So I apologize for not making that more specific in the summary. And I can change that for tomorrow, but we were thinking of changing it to more of a new terms of employment will be established.
To me, that sounds very good.
And that is the language that we discussed. And I know that Val had her hand up as well.
Because people
No
may not
matter.
be coming back to the same
You had
exact
something you wanted to ask.
level of job that they left at, so.
Right.
All right, John?
Can you go back to the other page again? Oh, wait a minute, I'm muted. Where am I?
Nope, you're not muted.
I'm not muted, sorry. Second item, it says in parentheses, inclusive of Brenda Robertson's salary. I don't quite understand that language.
Yep, so when we went into an executive session, we brought up a salary of all employees. And this is not throwing anybody under the bus, but it was Brenda herself who uploaded the wrong one, but it did not include her. And because we're following the process for capturing what happened in executive session, it was noted that we needed to include Brenda's salary. It was left off when the personnel committee was discussing it. We talked about it internally, but thank you, John, for the question.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions? Everybody feeling good about this? Okay, so we had a motion to, I think, Becky made the original motion, and I'm not sure who seconded it.
Did I? I think I did. maybe.
Okay, and a second, Sandy, and the Personnel Committee is recommending that we make these changes per their meeting. So we've got a motion, and a second. Mary, can you do a roll call vote for this, please?
Yes, Christine Joy,
Accept.
Sandra Wright,
Accept.
Becky Coletta. Thank you. Val Massard,
Accept.
John Costa,
Accept.
Stephen Santusonio,
Except,
and I believe that is everyone. Thank you.
That was an accept. I was just muted. I couldn't find my button.
Thank you. I saw your hand flurry.
And thank you, Stephen, for your committee's good work on reviewing the handbook and those important ads. So thank you very much. All right, Brenda, sick time pay.
Actually, just before, on the longevity bonus, that did come up at personnel. It was still to be determined, but bringing it to the finance committee just because it was discussion about what we are paying out. It was an effort of Frank Staffier as well as with Stephen Santisonio to look for ways to continue to support our staff. And Brenda had a chart on the longevity bonus, just so for the finance committee, just to report out. Do you have that, Megan? Oops. I don't have control of it, so I
Sorry,
can't.
no, my mouse was going crazy. Oh, sorry, the sick
The
time payout,
longevity, the
No,
longevity.
Longevity
Longevity.
payment schedule.
I do not have that. I thought we were just bringing up that we,
So we'll just bring that up. And again, we are fine. It has it in our budget, and it was asked, at least in the committee, about knowing how long we can sustain that. And the reality is that we're able to for the next fiscal year, and we'll be reviewing years coming forward. I would not anticipate having that be removed. We'll just incorporate that as we continue to manage the office and the staff. But right, Brenda, did you have anything else to say on that?
No, I was actually trying to bring up the chart so I could share it, but you know
yeah,
how
I'm
good I
looking
am.
for it too. Is this 2/3/25? Is that the most recent one, Brenda?
Yeah, I thought I did. I didn't send that to you.
So just for the sake of,
I thought I sent it to you today, but I was sending so much stuff that.
just for board members themselves, just
Yep.
to,
Here,
okay.
hold on. I just want to make sure I had, oh, why isn't it going over? Sorry, it's not moving over to my screen properly.
It did pop up for a second, Megan.
Yep.
There.
Here we go.
Oh, there it goes. Yep.
So this is the chart that Brenda maintains. As you can see, for each of the years, they're color coded.
Yeah, actually, this is that. Yeah, this is
That's
not.
okay. Let's just stick on this just for board members.
Okay.
Don't go
Okay.
searching for it.
Okay.
We'll stick right here. And
I mean,
again,
I can quickly give the numbers for what the projections are for the longevities for the next 2 years are. If you would like
I
me
guess
to do
I
that.
think the reason why we're bringing this up, just for staff's sake, we just wanted to share that we are able to maintain, we know the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what Brenda will do is we'll share separately, just again, for what has been projected. This goes back a little bit to what Sandy has asked for in the past, just projecting so we know where we're going. I have 100% confidence in Brenda and the finance office to have them know to have this there. And it is a tool for maintaining our staff, right? Staff retention. And it's also something that we certainly want to be able to, as a I always call it initiative to bring staff on board as well. Not everybody has longevity. So we will break this down in a different color coded, and Brenda already has it, and she'll share it after the meeting. Thank you, Megan, for bringing this up.
So no changes to the longevity policy. This is
That's
just an
correct.
FYI that we are able to fund our current.
That's
Correct.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right, Brenda, sick time payout.
Okay, we have a page to share for this as well. Okay, so I would like to suggest that we may talk about revisiting the grandfathering in of sick time payout, because it's a huge liability for the company. Just as a matter of looking at it, past payouts in 2020, we had a payout of $85,983 between sick and vacation. Another one in 2020 was a total payout of $43,159. And then we have one coming up, actually two coming up that will be payouts of $32,108. If you look at on the chart below, it shows all of the employees that would be involved in this. I removed people that that wouldn't belong in here, but you can see where people arrive at 25 years. Now, that's not to say that some of these employees arrive at 25 years and they're not going to be retiring because they're young. But this just gives you an idea. The sick payout is usually really large because people generally don't use the sick time. the vacation time is also, somewhat large if people, if people don't, save up vacation knowing that they're going to retire or whatever. But mostly that it's the vacation we pay out anyway. So that, that is a liability, but the sick, if you add the sick to that pool, it can become, it could become a problem down the road, when we've all moved on to other things. But in any event, I would like to suggest, maybe we can discuss that when someone hits the, to remove sometime in the future, to remove the grandfathering in of everyone that lands at 25 years to get all of their sick time payout, to perhaps at 25 years paying an amount of $10,000 or whatever their sick time adds up to, with the least of which, whichever one is the least amount. Because that's not as much of a liability for us, but it's just a suggestion. It's just something to think about. I know that this comes up with the auditor every year, that those sick hours are a huge liability. So anyway, so that's all I have to say about that. Becky?
I can never find my mute button because
I know,
it
me either.
hides. So the one thing I would say is, to the extent we want to think about this, we need to make sure that it's done, prospectively. To the extent someone has accrued sick time, and under a provision where it is banked for retirement, I think that we'd have to talk to a lawyer, before we took away sick time, just because it's a benefit that people have already accrued. So it would be more of a prospective view, in my opinion.
Well, I understand. Even though sick payout is like, if you've not at the 25 years, you don't get the sick payout. You only get the vacation payout. So, I mean, I'm just, it's just something that I wanted to bring up, because looking at it from, from my fiscal eyes, it can down the road, like, in the 2030s, quite a few people hit the 25 year, even though those people are mostly young. So it's like, it's impossible to know exactly what it's going to be. But, in 2020, we had two very large payouts. If those payouts would happen right now with what we're going through now, we would be a little bit, bothered by it. So that's all.
So Brenda brought this up to me, and just in terms of auditors, maybe bringing this up liability. She did pull these numbers together. I would recommend that this goes to personnel. We just talked about longevity and how we want to maintain our employees, right? By us taking away some of their benefits that they've earned, that they've been around, would not be what we're looking for. But certainly a dialogue and discussion would be the way that I would recommend the next steps. Anyway, before we get deep, I think it is a personnel committee discussion that will certainly vet some of the things that, Becky had talked about, as well as things that Brenda talked about in terms of the impact. But I think that if we, as I'm pointing to the screen here, as we're looking at the numbers that I've asked Brenda to put together, keeping the names of employees, confidential, but, it's a balance, and try to figure out, and I think a very a good discussion will help us think this through together, both us as staff, the fiscal office, as well as the council members. But in the end, supporting our employees with the balance of having a fiscal, and perhaps Jennifer from CLA can offer some suggestions. If they're raising it as a topic, what are some of the best practices out there? But right now we have an employee handbook that we've worked really hard at, and staff are counting on it. And, again, I think that's a good discussion to have.
I know this is a personnel committee question, but couldn't you look at, for vacation, you switch into a use it or lose it type situation where you wouldn't have to pay it out, where if you either use your vacation or that's it, or you just, that's it, you don't get it, and you just pick it up again the next year.
Right now, again, we have that, like, again, we're not unionized. This has been, no kind of, the discussion has been a handbook. We did make changes 3 years ago already now, Charlie, I think. where we are limited to 210 hours. You cannot carry over anything more than that. So, Charlie?
Yeah, I was just gonna say exactly to that point, the 85,000, that was Pat Charamella. And at that point, there wasn't a cap on how much sick time you could get paid out for. So he had, I mean, way above 210. It was, I don't know,
Yeah.
500-600 hours. So,
It was a lot.
but I mean, you guys have put in some firewalls so it doesn't grow up to that amount now. So,
Yes, I think that's all I'm suggesting. Yeah, or maybe even for moving forward that the new employees.
well, like new
are
hires
not
don't
grandfathered.
don't
Right.
have that.
Right.
Right. And what Stephen brought up was, it would mean, changing the employee handbook in terms of, I'll tell you, there's only a handful, and I'll include myself in it, that bump up to those hours every year. And it's on me. When I lose, the 210, but I think what Stephen was talking about, and certainly again, let us do some more homework on this, but to see what are some of the best practices out there, what some of the consistencies with each of the regional planning agencies. But we have this handbook that each of our employees read and sign off on every year, that they are abiding by that, and we use it as a management tool. So I would say that we would need to kind of talk about the cost benefit analysis. If we take that benefit away, like you use it, which people should, then you lose it either by the fiscal year or the calendar year. I think that's what Stephen might be proposing.
Yeah.
That means
Oh,
210 hours.
Yeah, and then if you can carry over a few days to the following year, fine, maybe add some little cushion in there. I'm just basing on my experience.
So I think those would be the ones going back to what I would recommend is having, I wouldn't say having it immediately tomorrow, but that we try to schedule a personnel committee so we can really do our homework, do some best practices, how this will affect current staff. What does it mean? What does it change? What kind of impact? I mean, there's all of that. So thank you, Brenda, for bringing this up. And Stephen, we can work on maybe after the annual meeting, we can work on a meeting. Because I don't think anything at this point, unless Brenda tells me CLA is bringing this up as a concern, which I don't think they have. It's flagged. But I don't know if it's ever really been noted in any of the audit reports. That's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I do not believe we've got anything that we did not anticipate discussing. So we've worked through the agenda and had another very good Finance Audit Committee meeting. I mean, this is the reason we do this, is so that we can hash through and ask lots of good questions so that we all feel good about recommending the financials and the other items tomorrow night to the full council. So thank you, everybody, for a lot of great participation. So
Madam
I will
Chair,
go ahead.
Before you go into the adjournment, just because there's so many active members who have been on, and I know John is on as an alternate, but the chair, the president of the council, Becky Coletta, will be making committee assignments soon. So if you are interested in staying on this finance committee, and that means even you, John, as an alternate, because the president can do that. But if you have that interest, please you can either just wave your hand and I'll send those over to the president for the appointments.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. I see Sandy.
Important business, yeah. Housekeeping items.
Yes,
So I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Sandy. All right, so all in favor, just raise your right hand and we'll see you all tomorrow at the full council meeting.
Bye,
Thank you
everybody.
all for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.